Welcome again to On the Couch. It's fantastic to have you with us again. On the Couch is a program where we get to know members of Tom's Anglican churches. Last week we started an interview with Michelle Gardner speaking about her life and her family. We continue with the second part of that interview tonight, picking up with the birth of her daughter Zoe and really exploring Zoe's life and Michelle's role as Zoe's mum. And then a few years later, Zoe?
Yes, that was another traumatic time where we both nearly lost our lives in that. So that was
as in you and
Zoe, yeah.
Yeah. So complications in the birth?
Yeah. You know, I'd got to 37 weeks with Zoe and I was like, oh, this will be great. I'll be able to have that whole experience of having a baby in my room with me and all this sort of thing, and which I hadn't had with the other two pregnancies.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, this will be amazing. I haven't experienced this before. It'd be so great. It was just went pear-shaped. So, but you know, we didn't even hold her till she was over 2 weeks old.
Right.
Yeah.
And you weren't in a condition to hold anything, though.
No, well, I was in ICU and pretty much unconscious for 2 days.
Yeah.
And the third day, they took me down to see her in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even sit in a wheelchair at that point. So.
Wow. Zoe's got some disabilities.
So she has cerebral palsy.
Yep.
So she has has a condition called ataxia, which kind of, how I explain it, looks like Parkinson's disease where she shakes. So, but mostly affects. So it's actually quadriplegic, but it's in the sort of bottom parts of her limbs, so her feet and her hands and that sort of thing. So while she can still up and move around,
those end points of the limbs
don't work. So the message doesn't get from the brain to those parts very well. So
So how early was that?
So she was 13 months old.
Right.
So it was hard, while we knew it was going to happen, it was very. It was difficult, but...
You said you knew it was going to happen.
Well, doctors give you little snippets along the way that they sort of think that things are not going to be right, but no one actually...
Going right back to from her birth, pre-birth?
Yeah, from her birth, pretty much. So she had a scan when she was, 6 or 8 weeks old, and they basically, or even probably before that, and said that she'll have... some permanent brain damage. And
so it's a result of birth?
Lack of oxygen.
Right. So. And so what challenges is that, Zoe's disability presented for you? And
I just remember...
highs and lows.
Yeah. I remember at one point just going, this is forever. Like, it's not like they've got the flu or they've, got chicken pox or whatever. She's going to have it forever. Like, it's not going away. So I think she was about we hadn't had her diagnosed yet, but she's probably about 8 or 9 months old, and I just sort of went, that was sort of like the reality. Oh, it's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So we've just got to live with it and, learn how to work through that. So God has made her like this for a reason. Like, again, I don't know what his reason is for this, and it's a struggle, but it's, but she, there's so many, people just say she's just so happy, and if I had $1 for every, $1 for every person that said to me, she's such a happy person. Like,
she's always got a smile on her face. She's, usually got, half a cup of saliva out there as well, which is part of, obviously part of the disability, the cerebral palsy. But there's just this delight running around. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have found that quite difficult to actually go, yeah, okay, but what does God say in all of this? You know, or where does God sit with all of this?
And so what are the things that have really, again, strengthened you, helped you working through that, or you God and his character?
Yeah, just the different things that you come across it in the Bible at different times. I can't sort of really, pick anything in specific at the moment, but, things will happen and there might be a sermon or something that you read and you sort of go, yeah, okay, that's for me. I needed to hear that today.
Yep. I mean, you've said a number of things sitting there with, just this is God's plan. He knows us. He loves us.
Yeah. And he loves her like he loves me, like he loves you, like he loves the person that lives on the street in the city. Yeah.
And that doctrine of sin is a helpful thing when you go, actually, we're all broken in different ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see the gardeners walking through the gate, and there's 6 of you. People would look at Zoe and go, oh, she's broken.
Yeah.
Not necessarily look at the other 5 of you and realise you're broken, but actually...
We're all broken.
Heart-wise, and when we think about things theologically, we're all just as broken. So
there was one time she said to me, Mum, I just need new legs. So, and she gets she's starting to get a bit more... a tune that people can't understand her, and she'll come and say to me, they don't understand me, Mum. So that's hard, but just trying to get her. But this, we're so blessed that we have technology. Like, she has an iPad that has a app on it that she can complete a sentence in if people can't understand her.
Yep.
That type of thing.
And so prospects going forward as parent and mother and daughter, or parents and child, is it, again, that this is forever, is it Zoe will live with you guys forever, or is her disability such that she could go into a group home, or...
I try not to run ahead of myself too much. I find that if I do that, I do my head in. Like, I just get... It actually makes me quite anxious, and I sort of go, can't do that. I've got to do the... this time now, or whatever. And it's certainly with things like NDIS, is that sort of making those, saying to her, okay, what do you want to work on? What do you want to work on at OT? And things like that. So that's been, that's really good. But David and I have very much gone, well, she's going to be with us if we're going to travel overseas later, or travel around Australia or whatever. She'll come with us. That's our mentality, but whether that happens in real life, I don't know. But one thing I was very concerned about where to send her for high school. Prayed with Christine Cranendonk for quite a time about it. And anyway, we went up to a school celebration. My boys went to Wycliffe at Warramoo, and the principal, we're starting a Hope School next year, which is, in layman's terms, is like a support unit in a mainstream school, but in a Christian setting. And which is so much what I wanted, like her to have some sort of Christian input into her education. And so I went up and spoke to the principal, Dave Johnson, straight away, and after he announced it, and he said, come and make an appointment with me. So he sees me like the day before presentation day in a school, so crazy busy. So that just spoke volumes to me that this was actually important to him. And so next year's about 80% sure that she'll be going up there for school, which will be such a blessing. And I went away and I said to Christine, you cannot believe it. This is like answered prayer, and she's going, it's just...
And she'll have one big brother still at the school?
Yeah, so he'll be there for a year, so that will give her time to sort of settle in and work out whether the bus is going to work for her, getting to school on the bus. But, so...
Don't get too far ahead of ourselves. Know that those things are available.
Yeah, that's
work
it. And that's trying to work through all those things.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the Christian people that you come across, though. Like, her OT is a Christian.
Yeah.
So that's, like, she's amazing, and we can talk about God stuff with Zoe there, and so that's been really good. But it's funny, the ones that you come across and go, sometimes you can pick them.
And what she's got 3 big brothers. What are they? How do they treat her? Like, is she handled with kid gloves?
She's not handled with kid gloves. They all look after her very well. Like, they squabble like normal siblings and all that sort of thing. Liam and her have a very unique, like, I call them my bookends, but they have a very... Liam was that little bit older, so he was 8 when she was born. He's, kind of knew a bit more about what was going on, like, whereas the twins were 5, probably don't have the same recollection of how traumatic. Liam was quite... Every time I'd get sick after she was born, are you all right, Mum? Are you all right?
Right,
had this
really
sort of overprotective caringness about him.
Yeah. Now, there's extra members of the family. It's not just you and David and the 4 kids. You've got a few extras running around.
You're talking about my dogs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, now, there's 3 dogs. One of them's yours.
Yep.
You probably look after all 3 of them, but...
mostly 2, but
mostly 2. Tell us about your dog.
My dog is Ruby, and she is a corgi because I am the queen. The queen of our house, no. I'm just joking. So we had a corgi growing up, and
did you?
And so I kept saying to David for my birthday, he'd say, "What do you want for your birthday?" I said, "No, nothing, just another dog."
Right.
Not thinking that he would actually buy me another dog.
When you're saying just another dog, you're going, we've got a German Shepherd in the house and a poodle? No?
A Labradoodle.
Labradoodle already in the house at this point when you're saying, just another dog. Yep.
And just even, we got Coda, who's the German Shepherd, and Molly a week apart. So one's birthday's the 14th of February and the other one's the 21st of February. And we got these dogs a week apart, and it was just puppy disaster. Like, they just ripped up everything and pooed and weed everywhere, and it was such hard work.
Yep.
And then...
So that's the real secret behind why we ran out of toilet paper and stuff. It was your dogs coming home.
Paper towel.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. But I love my dogs. I think they just...
So Dave surprised you with Ruby?
Yeah, Dave surprised me with Ruby, although I had to drive to Singleton to pick her up. But that was okay. He said, "Oh, well, I've actually got you this dog and you need to go and pick her up." But it was in the midst of the whole bushfire thing, so it was a bit... the dog's actually from Putty, but because the Putty Road was closed, we had to go around
6
to get her.
For a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, so anyway. But, they're a delight. They... when you're not feeling great, they're always happy to see you. And the Labradoodle is a companion dog for Zoe, so she was purely bought to be companion. So and she is an absolute perfect match for that. So she'll come and sit beside you on the lounge or wherever, put her head on your foot, whatever. She's
Cuddly sook.
Yeah, she is beautiful. Like, she's really a beautiful natured dog.
And in terms of thinking about Zoe and being a companion dog, what's that? What does that mean? Like, what's the aim or the thinking about it?
So there's lots. They use them a a lot with kids that have autism. So, you know, it's sensory. You know, you take the dog to the park and it enables kids to have interaction with people at the dog park that, and it's, you know, it's not so, what's the word?
Like, gives those relational connections.
Yeah, so that they can relate to people without actually having...
to get through this awkwardness.
Yeah, the awkwardness of it, yeah. So, but yeah, they're just, something to love. It, you know, gives her something to look after. And she feeds, like, the two girls every night, Zoe and
so there's been a growth in her from having the pets?
Yeah, she's very independent.
Yep.
Like, she's quite independent, and as much as she can be.
Yep.
And she, just that responsibility, and, you know, she says to me, I'm going to have 2 dogs when I'm older, not 4 or 3. So,
you know, you're only going to have 2 children. You've got 4 and 3 dogs. So.
And she says, when I move out, those sorts of things. So, you know, she gives her sense of responsibility and things like that. So, it's been good for her.
Yeah. Just because you've got a disability doesn't mean you get out of things.
No. And she, like I said, she feeds them both and helps with, she can't wash them on her own, but she, you know, if we wash them, she helps do that. And
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Michelle, thank you for coming and joining us on the couch. It's been great to sit down and chat with you and hear a bit more of your background and family life. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.